an astral vampire does this. Why am I doing the Illuminati hand gesture? Any sorry, that was uncalled for. Um, do 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 do. Aliens music. No, that's also South Side. Now, anyways, oh god, I'm gonna get someone in the comments being like, "Yeah, homie," but yeah, yeah, no. Anyways, yeah, so basically, the cow gets all those nutrients, expels all that poison in the form of shit, and basically concentrates like 4 fields worth of nutrients in its muscle mass and in its blood, right? And yeah, like that. When people are like, "Oh, eat the energies of the earth," the wolf, if it even manages to eat 4 fields of grass, it will become bloated and explode, or it will just start vomiting and puking before it can even like get anything down there. But what's more likely to happen if it can store all of that and eat it is that wolf will starve to death by the time it eats 4 fields worth of grass. It'll get halfway there and be like, and then die. And that's an astral vampire. If you're like, oh, just eat your broccoli, man. You don't have to feed on people's energy, bro. What happens is we'll just be like absorbing the energy of the rocks. And I've done this before where people are like, do it. And I'm like, and they can see energy. They can actually see it. I'm like, you really want to see what happens when fine, but you're whatever. And I consume the energy of the earth and it goes inside of me and it just gets stuck in my veins like black sludge and just starts spreading and my entire limb looks black. And I'm like, and they're like, this one Reiki person is like, I've never seen anything like that. What the fuck? And I just get an astral blade, chop off my spiritual arm, which I guess is supposed to hurt most people, and most people aren't okay with doing something like that. That's damage. If you're an astral vampire, you can literally cut off limbs. Then it's like, yes, this part of my spirit is on the ground. And then I absorb energy from this person, their blood energy, their astral energy, their vital energy. I absorb it from them, and then my spiritual arm just grows back. And I'm like, so that's why I can't eat earth energy. Now, as I've said in prior videos, oh, well, it's just an addiction. If you wane off of it, if you just don't eat people's, energy, then, yeah, I hate this face. Yeah, that's how it feels when they talk to me. It's like, yeah, if you, it's like a drug. It's okay to be addicted to drugs. It just means you're not in the best place in your life right now. And that's okay. We still support you. Well, hello, Batman. But, yeah. Fuck you. But, so, what'll happen, and this is an unfortunate thing, and I had met the after results of this. I had never seen it happen live, thank fucking God. But there was a person that, when they awoke and found out that they were like me, they went on YouTube, because of course, as you do, and they did not find anything helpful. They found hundreds of thousands of astral psychic vampirism videos of people being like, they're evil, they're parasites, they're demonic, they are leeches, they're narcissist, and they want to steal your energy and blah blah blah. So what happened was, this individual was like, I guess I'm a narcissist. I guess I want to make people's lives that's a horrible thing. I'm basically draining people and making their lives. And they went down this like Uncle Ruckus path. And here's the thing. When you refuse to feed, or there's not enough good energy and you're picky, which this has happened to me, where it's like, everyone here is so awful. What happens is, if this happens to me, is we go feral, I go feral, And it's when you don't consume energy for a while, your spiritual muscles start to decay, your spiritual rib cage becomes exposed, your spiritual eyes start to rot, your spiritual nose falls off, and you look like a lich or a zombie, Draugr. And basically, um, your astral fangs start to emerge from your mouth. Your snout will start to protrude like a wolf. You'll have some, depending for me, it's like you'll have bony spikes just start growing out of you like a cactus. Your spiritual nails will start to turn into sharp bone claws, and you'll just start blacking out. You'll start to basically just like become really angry, resentful, and and this has happened to me. I'm covered in stretch marks. I used to be 300 pounds because I'd neglect my energy needs. But when I started eating energy, I started losing weight, and reached a normal weight. You know, but you just become angry and you become more physically hungry, like you're starving to death. You could eat an entire buffet and still want to eat more until your stomach explodes. Um, it's horrible. It's a feeling of violation, and you just spiritually start to mutate into something that if someone saw you on the astral scape, if they were astral traveling and they saw you, they'd be like, "What the fuck," and you would see them, and it's like the logic of getting a cute puppy and then a child tying them to a tree, and then that dog becoming so hungry that it chews off its own leg, and then it sees the child. Oh, we're gonna fucking kill and eat that child for sure. Like there no sensibility, no, like I don't care who you are. If I become feral and you come across me, it's my life or your life. Like if you have to defend yourself from me, absolutely. This isn't a situation that any astral vampire would want to be in. So they either force themselves into it out of a sense of being misguided, or someone forces them into it. And it's not a good situation to be in. And if you come across an astral vampire that's in this state, if you manage to feed them from a distance and they come back and you meet them in real life as a person, they'll probably become your best friend. But, anyways, yeah, like I don't want to talk about me being in a feral state because I did hurt innocent people. I became that psychic vampire stereotype about someone that like hurts people, and causes harm, and that wasn't like a good situation to be in. But you become a hellspawn. You become a ravenous creature, a revenant of the night. You become an absolute, like you'll take on a more bestial form. For me, it's like a wolf, like a werewolf, and yeah, it's not a good place to be in. Anyways, this person that decided that they were a piece of shit because they found out what they were. They were like, I guess I'm addicted to it. I don't need to feed on, people's blood energy, their vital energy, their prana, their chi. I don't need to do that. I'm just a horrible, evil person. And they went feral. And I met plenty of astral vampires that have went feral. We all get over it, but he went feral and he had self-control. I don't know what breed he was. I don't know what bloodline of vampire he was, but whatever it was he was created from something with immense discipline and immense willpower, because he went feral and went through the rage, the blood rage, and just sat through it. And what happened was his chakras started to dissolve. His spiritual limbs started to wither away into nothingness. And after his spirit was dissolved, his soul started sizzling, burning, and cracking. His eternal soul, well, not really eternal, it started cracking. And then there was nothing. Like a blink from Warhammer 40k. This individual has no soul whatsoever. No soul, no spirit. And this leads into the thing. Well, what happens when an astral vampire doesn't feed? What happens? Nothing. Everyone, even atheists, get an afterlife. Those people that are like, there's no afterlife, there's no God or gods. They die. They don't wake up. They go somewhere. Maybe they reincarnate, but they go somewhere. Everyone has an afterlife. If you have subtle emanation, you're guaranteed to have an afterlife. If you create your own subtle emanation, You're anti-emanation. And you stop that, and you're gone. You're gone. There is no afterlife. What happens when an astral vampire does not feed is an atheist death. We die an atheist death. No afterlife, no reincarnation, all of it's gone. There's nothing. So what I hate about the people that post these videos is they're like, oh, well, they're horrible people that feed on your eternal soul. And there's nothing more important than your eternal soul and every being's right to exist unscathed and untouched and unharmed. And yet they're the cognitive dissidents. They are basically responsible for ending someone's eternal existence. Sure, they could have a good life, they could marry and have kids, but when they die, they're just a body in the ground. Their consciousness, when it's gone, it dies with their brain. There is no anything afterwards. They're gone. And that is why I had to get drunk, because all astral vampires, all we do is run away from this. Though we could have many different lives, many different political opinions, and the one thing we have in common is the thirst. The thirst for other people's energy. It's the one thing that isn't a masquerade, that isn't a persona. It's the one thing that comes to define us on a subtle level. And the one thing we all have in common is the thirst to eternally, drink. And now this, I think, will lead into perfect. I wasn't sure when I was going to begin this part of the video, but yeah, I guess I will get into this part of the video. So yeah, I'm trying to talk more like this, and you might have me teeter-totter, and I'm drunk, so you're gonna have me teeter-totter between this and then this. But I don't know which you like better. I don't care, because I've grown up talking with both accents and then accents. I have two. Can you have two natural accents? I don't know. But anyways. So, yeah. Basically, another reason why we're undead, and this bothers people, is that, how do I put this? Everyone is a part of existence, spiritually at least. Now, technically, I am physically a part of existence, as everything is made out of stardust, but we're talking in spiritual terms here. Everyone is a part of existence. Everyone is existence. The astral vampire participates in existence. And this might piss you off. This might be a hard pill to swallow, but I will say it how I know it, how we know it, right? And how every other fucking astral vampire I've met describes it. Basically, we are immune to karma, dharma, bad consequences. I don't believe in it. For the longest time, I didn't believe in karma because it's never applied to me. I've always been like, well, bad people live good lives and then die on a summer beach getting their dick sucked by a supermodel. Well, good people die of cancer and get hit by cars. But then I'm like, is this cynical opinion based on my predatory nature, or is it a result of my predatory existence? So how do I put this? If there is, I just don't believe in karma, but if there is such a thing as karma and these cosmic consequences, you go to hell, you go to heaven, you go to the underworld, you go to Elysium or Olympus, whatever it is, you go to Shangri-La or you go to Shitland. Well, whatever mechanism that is only applies to whoever is a part of the mechanism. Astral vampires, I could drive through a crowd of 47,000 children and kill all of them and rape 1 million babies and fucking eat 1,000 puppies and fucking, set, an old person's home on fire. And I wouldn't go to hell. I wouldn't burn off any negative karma. I have no karma. None of us do. And I could save the world. I could, I could become super rich and give every child at the children's hospital their own Make-A-Wish 10,000 times over, and then also cure them of cancer in addition. and also like, fucking solve every cold case on earth and catch every serial killer and do, fucking feed every Ethiopian child and family fucking free food and, fucking remove pollution and global warming. I could do every good fucking Nobel Peace Prize thing. And whatever mechanism would the universe would go, and you have been deemed worthy, wouldn't apply to me. No, if I did the great whatever, if you're watching this, do a thought experiment. What is the greatest thing you think someone could do to deserve an afterlife that is good? That is your ideal version of good. Well, if I did that thing, I wouldn't get that. And if I did the worst thing, whatever the worst thing the viewer thinks of, if I did that, I'm not going to get what anyone else would deserve if they got what they deserved, if that mechanism was real. Astral vampires do not get punished or rewarded for existing because we're not a part of existence. We just participate in it. We're an outsider. Even if we were born within it, even if we were once a part of it, we now participate in it. Another reason for undead. Our nature might be a little superficial on some level. I haven't been drinking enough of this. Because we're so... You ever, when you first jerk off, right? And, you're jerking off and you're like, this is great. But then you've jerked off 1,000 times and your hand is covered in calluses and you can't feel your dick anymore. But you enjoy yourself, kind of. That's being that's being an astral vampire on a metaphorical level. Basically, how do I put this? What pisses people off is there are so many good people, right? Let's get a mystical faction of good guys, that are dedicated to fighting the greater good, and they have some Valhalla or some fucking paradise, nirvana, waiting for them, and they're fighting against this evil army of demon monsters, and they have to live a certain way of life, eat certain types of food, right? And they think this is the good way. This is the way of truth. This is the way of justice. This is the way of morality and virtue and the cosmic totality. Sure. And they do this, and all the discipline that comes with it. This is our duty to bear the brunt so that we can entitle the fruits of the gods. Sure. But they can't necessarily, they don't have the luxury of going through the other side, because if they do the other thing, they get a stick up their ass and fucking they get cock and ball torture. They get eaten, they get burned alive, whatever. So they either have to suffer immensely in order to and do the right thing, so they get some reward, or they do what they want to do and they get absolutely fucking tortured to a crisp, to learn their lesson and burn off bad karma. And so this is a burden they take pride in. They take pride in their pain. Because they're obligated. They are forced into this cosmic universal narrative in which they have to abide by these precepts and take the burdens with them, right? They are forced to be a part of it against their will. So naturally, those that are forced to be a part of it, that have no choice over whether or not they're a part of it, they think to themselves, oh, well, I like this. This is good because it's the good thing, right? Yeah, but if you didn't have to, if you could step outside of this, outside of all consequence and all reward, so you don't have to suffer, they don't even let themselves go there, right? So one of the things I hear people say is immortality, right? This is a perfect example. This analogy makes sense of the other analogy. Immortality. I don't think I could live with myself if I had to watch my wife, my child die, watch my grandchildren die, my great-great-grandchildren, all my friends, the whole world I knew gone for centuries. How could I get attached to people? I don't think it's worth it. I'm glad I'm going to die. Well, they don't get a choice over whether or not they die. They just die. So they're coping, right? The other thing, I'm a part of this good faction, and I have to do the right thing, and I take pride. Well, you have to. So you're coping. You have to have good karma in order to get the results of good karma because you're a part of karma. So, you don't have a choice. So the thing is, as an astral vampire, what I find interesting is when people die, when they leave this life, and I'm not left-hand path either. I don't like the left-hand path. I don't want to ascend into apotheosis. Fuck that. I want to go to the movie theaters and I want to get my dick sucked. If we're being honest here, I can be a prude, conservative, nationalist, authoritarian, traditionalist, but I'm talking to you just honestly, right? I want to go to the movie theater and get my dick sucked for 10,000 years. And I also want to eat pussy. I want to go to the buffet. I want to pet cats. I want, to drive in a sports car. I want to wear a three-piece suit. I want to be poor and suffering and have to starve so my children don't starve. I want to be rich and watch my children get fat. I want it all. I want to be human. So the thing is, those that are like, yeah, I couldn't imagine eternity with no end. Now, yeah, so when they die, they just get recycled or they reincarnate as a completely different person, completely different personality. What I find interesting is if you're an astral vampire, even if you're unawakened like I was for so long, I am the same exact person. This person you're watching, I am the same person no matter what point in human history I'm a part of. Even if I'm a completely different species, I am the same person. Remarkably so. I didn't do this, but I knew of someone that I had met in a prior life that was still alive at the time, and I wanted to go and talk to them, but I also didn't because I didn't want to disturb them, because they would have been like, I would have killed them. They would have been like, anyway, so yeah, ego, right, is the same. Since when you become a psychic vampire, whoever you were on the level of your spirit and your soul at that time, that incarnation, that personality, your occupation, if you were a warrior like I was, every incarnation, you are going to die miserably. There is not a goddamn chance that I'm going to grow old and happy and die surrounded by loved ones. I'm going to die in a knife fight. And if you became an astral vampire when you were a diplomat, you're gonna die, having sex with some, I don't know, female politician. So whatever you were, you always are, permanently. Like there is no matter what role you take up. If you want to be a cleric, whatever, you can do that. But you're still going to be you, even if you step out of your comfort zone and engage in something new. You're always going to be whatever you are, dressed in another suit, right? If I wear this, whatever, the next thing I could wear in another life could be completely different. I'm the same person I've always been. And the thing is, most people consider themselves as an elemental vampire. They consider themselves as a person that has a spirit, and their spirit will become that next person. I've always been the same spirit, and this is a flesh suit that I wear as a means to feed on other people's energy. I am a spirit in a human's body. So, and I am that same spirit, and that spirit has always, even if it was unconscious and it was a human being, I've always been acting as the spirit before my awakenings in other lives. Even if I went my whole life without knowing about the spirit, I would still be being the spirit in a physical body without even knowing it. If that makes sense. And that's real immortality, right? Not having the same obligation or having to worry about what your afterlife is going to be like is very liberating. And I gotta say, as someone who's been the same fucking being since the great die off of the dinosaurs, since the fall of Atlantis, um, I can say to that hypothetical, oh, well, I wouldn't want to outlive everyone I knew and have to experience the same thing over and over. Well, that's because you'll never get the chance. I'm sorry, but you'll never get the chance to do that. Now, as someone that has done that, as someone that knows that their mother in this life is going to die, that when I have kids, my kids are going to die. The love of my life, I love her very much. I would do anything for her, I would fight for her. She is my love in this life. She will die. She'll probably outlive me because I'm a little older than her. We're both of legal age, you know, before you throw that fucking, oh, vampires are pedophiles. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, so the life before this, I remember my mother and father. I remember my wife. I remember my child. And I love them as much as I love my mother and my future wife now, and as much as I love my future kids. And before that life, you know, past the life before that life, I remember my mother and father and my wife. I remember watching my wife die, holding her in my arms and crying and whatever it was, and going to her funeral. And I remember another one where like I'm dying and she's holding me in her arms, and it just keeps going back. I've had thousands, hundreds of thousands of mothers and fathers that I love just as equally as the ones from this life. And I've watched every single one of them die. If you were to have them all die at once and it was posted on global news, it would be considered a Holocaust. The amount of children of mine that have died and the amount of people I know that are descended from me, like in terms of the me's where I possess that physical body, because of how far I've been doing this, is funny, and I don't even consider them descendants because, sure, maybe your great grandchild, sure, I could see that. But when they become your great 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 great, then they can fuck off. But I've met an old man that was in his 80s and he was like, I am descended from this. And I'm like, so it's not a hypothetical for me. Imagine having to outlive, your kids, your parents, whatever. The kids is less, but just outliving everyone you care about. Well, yeah, imagine that, but also outliving a higher amount. Or you're talking about, oh, I don't think I could bear it because I'm going to outlive my parents and whatever. What if you had to outlive them, right? And then start over and then outlive another group of parents and then do that for thousands of probably millions of years? Yeah, I did that, and you know what? I enjoy it. So don't give me that shit. You have no choice, and you're coping. I don't want to be immortal, or I don't want to be immortal. Who would want to do that? Well, I would, and I have. So that's the thing. I think people are offended by our existence because we don't suffer the same consequences. Go back to the prior analogy before the immortality analogy. When you have these people that are fighting the good fight, they're for God and glory, and they're like, I don't want to die, but I will if it means doing the right thing and honoring my gods. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm honoring my gods, and I'm holding the shield. There is something that might seem inauthentic to them because most people in any incarnation they live in, they are thespians in a playwright with an audience that are all pointing guns at them, right? They're all, how do I, actually, here's a better example. Oh, I couldn't find my pistol. I was gonna point a pistol at the screen and be like, all right, so someone wrote a script, right? And this script is your life. And they're all on the stage at gunpoint. We could be the audience members. Astral vampires could be in the audience and be watching this, but instead we're like, ooh, I want to dress up in the costume. And we dress up and we're like, oh, Macbeth, and, we're just whatever play it is. We're like, yes, I want to put on this mask and makeup. I want to put on this clothing. And these people are like crying. They're like, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. They're like, this is horrible. And we're like, oh, and by thine glory, thee thou thine. And it's like, I think people hate our existence because no matter what it is, even if it's something they're passionate about, the idea that we could walk the same path, we don't have to be good. We don't have to be good, virtuous, honorable people. The fact that we could do anything with complete carefree and not be bound to it. We're literally taking someone's conviction. We're taking someone's entire existence that they've dedicated years of discipline, blood, sweat, and tears into, and we're doing it as a hobby. That pisses them off. They're like, no. What the fuck? Like, imposter, infiltrator, right? And I was telling my friend about this. I was like, imagine you get like a demon army. They're like, we're going to eat the children. We're going to slice through the marrow. And they're like the psychos from Borderlands. And they're like, we're going to burn you and enslave your souls and lash you with the bone whips. And then there's a group of like masculine knights that are like, yeah, we're going to destroy evil. I remember fasting for 47 days and 47 nights and living on top of a mountain where my pecs were swole, where I consumed the legendary soma blessed from a monk's semen. And then I worked out and lifted 25,000 pounds and then learned to do the one finger punch method. And I have never been happy a day in my goddamn life. I'm miserable and I constantly want to hang myself. But you know what? We're going to destroy the demons. And then what happens is the astral vampire is in the group of like these guys, and they're like, yeah, brother. And then it's like, let's destroy them. I know we're all going to die, but this is, we didn't have a choice in being here. This is horrible. We have to participate and we have to slay thine demons. And then what happens is, like it's literally the show Good Omens, my God, where basically, these knights are on one side, I'm with them, indistinguishable, and then I see a demon that's like, they will eat the liver and play with their flesh. And then I'm like, hey, Derek. And the demon's like, John? And then it's like we take off the mask and it's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I was just going to play with their intestines. And I was like, it's funny you say that. I was actually going to fucking decimate you and all your demon legions. Wow, wait, what are the odds that we'd be in the same battle? That's literally our entire existence, right? But that doesn't mean we're unauthentic, because what will happen is it's like, all right, we put on the mask, he puts on his demon mask, and we kill each other. Maybe he kills me and he's like, I have won for the Horde. Or I slice off my vampire friend's head and kill him. And it's like, oh no, he has vanquished me. He has to vanquish me. And I'm like, yes, I slayed this demon. And it's like, good job, you really saved us. It's an inside joke because none of them know that between all of this, it's like, tee-hee-hee, tee-hee-hee, But yeah, that's the joke of it, right? So it's, and here's the thing. This is gonna sound so fucking unhinged. I was my incarnations, right, in from World War I to World War II to ancient Rome to the Mongols serving under Kublai Khan. Didn't meet Genghis Khan, that was not a thing, but Kublai Khan, I met him. All of these horrible war crimes and atrocities I've committed, I do it for the game. Life isn't a game. It kind of is. And it's a fun one because for you it ends. For me, I can just restart at a new checkpoint. And people are pissed. This pisses people off. So I think there's this subconscious disgust that their moral conviction that they have to be a part of, we don't have to be. And when we choose to do the right thing, it's because we're kind of in our ways. You know, and it's funny. So I can't bend my pinky back. I broke it, and this video is too long for me to edit, but I broke it. And my pinky, I was riding to work on my e-bike, and I hit a bridge, and I flew off of it, and my entire body weight, all 250 pounds, crashed into my pinky. My pinky was bent backwards. There was bone exposed. I'm not sure if you can see how fucked up the scarring is, but yeah, my pinky was bent backwards. I was squirting blood. I lost a pint of blood. I was crying like a little girl, and I was like, you know, and we're in the hospital, or we're going into the ambulance or whatever, and I accidentally reset it. I grabbed it and reset it, and it was like, and here's the thing. When I was in the ambulance, I had this moment where the vampiric mask slipped, and I was like, that's interesting. I don't think that's happened for a few incarnations. It's good to feel something, right? It's good to just feel. And this is the thing. When people say they want to become astral vampires, it's not sunshine and rainbows. Because being undead means you don't feel as much as those that are connected. Because sure, my human brain, hormones, emotions allowed me to be like, you know, but when your actual nature slips out, it's like, I remember when I would have been devastated when something like that happens to me. I remember when I would have it would have felt like the world is ending. But it's good to feel something, right? So if I let the mask slip, no matter what horrible thing could happen to me, my bike being stolen, my finger literally almost losing. They told me I almost lost my finger, and it has like 2 fractures inside this bone. But you know, being told that I almost lose my finger, you know, all sorts of stuff. Getting my hands slammed in a door and cracking all of the bones in my fingers, all of that. If my vampiric self was around to experience it, it would have been like, it feels so good just to feel something, right? So I'll say this. You do become desensitized after your first couple 100,000 incarnations as the same being and feeding, right? The only thing that is desperately authentic is the need to feed on vital energy. Everything else is in addition. That doesn't mean that it's any less important to me, though. Because if the King of England said, the fate of England lies in you sacrificing yourself, will you heed my call? If King Charles the Third, I believe, said, hey, Alex, I want you to commit seppuku, I would literally stab a sword in my stomach and kill myself for my king, even though that's Japanese and not English. The English people are my people. I love them. I would die for English people. I am a pan-nationalist, an Anglo-nationalist, and I would die for any of my people. My wealth, my money, goes to English and Scottish and Welsh children. It's not my money, that's their money, right? So it doesn't mean I'm any less, you know, convicted, right? It just means I chose to be here, whereas a lot of people, if they actually had such a choice, they wouldn't. And that's the thing. Vampires have the ability to ascend. We have the ability to become enlightened more than other people do. We have more of an ability to leave this earth behind and become gods and ascend to the higher levels of existence. But we don't. That's not a thing. Why? Why would you? You know, we have a privilege that everyone yearns for. Those that follow the path of Buddhism, for instance, they yearn for this ability to be this disembodied being that's completely depolarized. And instead, we actually, by our nature, can achieve that pretty easily. And then we look over everything, the entire world, and all of these like struggles and pains and joys, and complete peace. And then we look down on it and we're like, oh, that family makes 400,000 a year. Oh, but that family is interesting. I mean, sure, their father's a dishwasher and the mother's disabled and has diabetes, but that's a fun looking neighborhood. And we literally use it as like, okay, all right, this is the one I picked, and then we just jump right down like a shooting star, and then we wake up and we're like, yeah, so it's like, no, we can attain this higher thing. But the thing is, when you become one with source, when you reach nirvana, you become absorbed into everything. What the fuck would be the point? Even then, we're not a part of it, so I don't know how that would work. If we reach the highest thing while being disconnected from the highest thing, don't know how that would work. Maybe we would be reconnected to it. I don't know. But the thing is, when you reach the totality of everything, being spread out into everything is the same as being dissolved into nothingness. If our entire existence is defined by feeding on energy so we don't go into Kali or the void or Gagunda Gap or the vagina of Tiamat, if our whole goal is to fucking exist perpetually in mortal existence, why the fuck are we going to do the same exact thing on a positive charge? If we're avoiding the absolute negative, why are we going to do the absolute positive? Because it's an Ouroboros. It goes back into the same thing. It's all a part of the same thing. So why the fuck would we participate in something like that? You know? Instead, yes, I'm addicted to the human experience. I like hard cider. I like cats. Yeah. It's like becoming a god, reaching a higher realm. What about this? She's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've owned thousands of cats. I've watched each and every one of them die. And I'm going to watch this cat die. She's going to reach the ripe old age of 25 years old, and she's going to be like, and I'm just going to watch her die. And then I'll be like, time to get another one. And then I'll die in my 60s or 70s, and then become a little kid again, and get another cat. And that cat will die. I'll get a dog. I'll get a reptile. I've had more pets than I've had wives. I guess I had a few husbands, but that was when I was incarnated as a female. But I've watched every single one of them die. And I will watch this cat die. And the thing is, I will say, I ever since I was a kid, there were the first few deaths that I had that were like, oh my God, like I was crying, I was sobbing. And the thing is, when I had my vampiric awakening, what I noticed was, after 2016 is around when I had my vampiric awakening, when people in my family and friends started to die, I was like, I can make more friends. And that might sound selfish and that's fucked up, but also I've watched billions of friends die. So it doesn't stop me from becoming friends, because, you could view it from a weak, pathetic, prey-like mentality where you're like, but my friends, and it's like, yes, you constantly lose friends, but you constantly make friends, so I don't know. Like, what the fuck is so hard to grasp? But anyways, when my own mother dies, sure, I'll try to cry, but the vampiric nature, like I'll try to suppress the vampiric nature and be a healthy human and go through the 5 stages of grief. What's more likely to happen is that she will die if my vampiric nature comes out. I'll be like, oh, I remember when my last mother died, and I'll just be talking about her like she's a conversation piece, like she's chopped liver. Um, Now, I will say, before my awakening, when I was 8 years old, I had a 7-year-old friend die. That haunts me. The human part of me will never get over that. That happened before my awakening. So that'll always affect me, which in a way I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to have severe PTSD. You know, it's good that the traumatizing experiences happen before your vampiric awakening because it'll help you feel just as human as you are vampire, if that makes sense. I know that's a fucked up thing, but for the longest time I was lamenting all of the horrible things that happened in my life. But I'm like, oh yes, no, this actually makes this human life feel a lot more substantial than a lot of the other ones. So that is very good because I can really feel that. I can feel watching that little girl die, and it haunts me. It's absolutely devastating. So that feels good in a certain sense. But I digress. Like it feels good but not in a good way. You know, it helps you be there, right? And it reminded me of Lucifer, right? If you want to get into the nature of an astral vampire, it reminds me of the animated Mark Twain movie with the little kids and Mark Twain chasing Haley's comet, and then we get into the scene with Lucifer, and at the end he's like, "In reality, I'm not really there." It's a very similar type of thing, but yeah, no. I think it makes people just genuinely upset. The notion that their existence is our form of playing a video game. But we role play, though. We role play in the video game. Sure, for you, you're not role playing. But, have you ever been doing a role play that's so deep that for a moment you forget about the actual real world? It's like that. So I might as well be on the same page with you. Now, again, if it is not a role play for you, if it is a deep thing and I'm on your side, then stop thinking about, oh, well, is he really here for the right reasons? Dude, you have my sword. I'm fighting with you. Let's deal with the enemy. Even if I'm doing it because I want to and you're doing it because you have to. I'm your ally, bro. Like come on. Like, I know I'm going to outlive you and whatever, but big monster, So anyways, that's how I'd like to conclude this video. I hope it was kind of useful to you. So yeah, anyways. Oh yeah, that was a good time.